You want
This
to start?
conference will now be recorded.
Again, I want to welcome our guest speaker tonight, special teams coordinator. He's going to be doing a presentation on special teams drills and fundamentals out of the University of Ottawa, special university to me. That's Nathan Taylor. Nathan, welcome. We know that you've been doing this for a while now, and we also know Ottawa youth special teams are pretty darn good. So looking forward to this presentation tonight.
Thank you. I really do appreciate that. I go up against a lot of really stiff competitions. So I got to bring my A game every week.
It's going to be fun. And again, Nathan has come tonight. This is our last presentation. Remember to mute your mics. If you want to speak up, just put your hand up or turn your mic on. And I'm sure Nathan will have some questions and answers at the end. But if you want to kind of stop and put a note in, and Glenn will check that out. I'm going to take my camera off. But again, looking forward to this tonight. Nathan, you're in charge. Take it away.
Awesome, thanks. Yeah, so like you said, if you guys at any point in time, I'm open to have kind of discussions about any of the drills or the fundamentals I'm kind of talking about. I don't mind waiting till the end as well, but if you guys want to interject immediately, that way I can correct or talk about something directly on the film or with the film that I have. I think it's more beneficial for both of us to have that open, organic conversation about the drills and the fundamentals. So I'll go ahead and share my screen. So are we good here? Because I can't see you guys anymore, unfortunately.
It's good, Nathan. Yeah, we're good. We got some video up. Yeah, coaches series.
Awesome. Okay, good. So I'm just gonna get started with this real quick. So obviously OPFL coaches series. So just especially some drills and some fundamentals. I'll try to cover as much stuff as I can within the drills. So we'll start off with this real quick. So the first thing, and this is just for me, it's like some things that I wish I would have known kind of coming into things that I've learned as I've been coaching. So the big thing is maximizing your drills. Be aware that you don't get a ton of time. So, sorry about that. Yes, you want to maximize your drills as best as you can. Get as many reps as you can in. Try to change up your drills as much as you can. So whenever you do have a drill, use as many techniques as you possibly can within that same drill. Don't just focus on the end point or the beginning. Make sure that everything throughout that drill is like as close to the game as possible. Coach every aspect of the drill. So whether it be effort, technique, situational awareness. Effort obviously is incredibly important with teams because that's what we do. Technique, very similar to the maximizing your drills. Anytime you're running a drill, every aspect of that drill needs to be coached, needs to be observed by the coaching staff. So if it's a rip, it's a rip. If it's how they stem, you make sure you coach the stem, make sure you coach the rip, make sure you coach their finish, make sure their hands are in the right spot. Situational awareness. Every drill that we do, there is some variability, some flexibility to our drill. So just because we're drilling something a specific way, if a person gets caught out of position within that drill, they can still use their situation awareness to put themselves in a good position. We can do the same drill with different finishes. I'll show you a couple of drills where we can change the finish at the end. So the teaching process is easier to run the same drill and just finish maybe a fumble recovery as opposed to a vice tackle. Finish it with jumping and grabbing a loose ball or getting an onside kick. Involve your assistants, your positional coaches, and your equipment managers. I think this is one of the things I didn't do enough of when I first started coaching. I tried to do everything myself. I thought I was like here I can bang it all out, but get as many people as you can involved. Be kind to them, explain to them as best as you can. Like I said, even equipment managers, all it is maybe getting you a couple extra footballs at the beginning of your drills, or making sure your stations are not completely set up, but somewhat set up so you can start running as efficiently as possible. Because as special teams coordinators, we know that we don't get a ton of time. Next point is this is your indie. Don't be afraid to coach the coaches. A mistake that I've made in the past. If you get coaches, a lot of them are gung ho. They're gonna help you as best as they can, but if they're not teaching the techniques correctly, it's not on them. It's on you. It's your job to coach the players as well as coaching the coach. Because you might grab an offensive line coach or a D line coach and having him do a punt return drill. Those guys have never done punt return in their more times than I've never done punt return in their lives. So really make sure you take the time and work with them. And like I said, everyone I've worked with, I've been blessed that they've been very open to learning as much as they can about teams and being able to help me in that. We run a ton of circuits, so like everyone can benefit from circuits. Time cost wise, teaches different people different skills as quickly as possible. You can get a lot of things on film, and it's just an efficiency standpoint. And the best thing about it is the players don't get bored. If you run one drill the entire practice, the entire 10-minute period, they'll probably get very good at it, but they're going to get bored. They're going to kind of lose a bit of flavor to it. So the more you can change up and have the burn ground, the more you can keep the energy going, I think the better your period will be. Whenever you're doing drills and the fundamentals, give them the tools to succeed. I'm going to show you guys a couple of drills that are we're putting our players in a disadvantageous position and giving them the tools to be successful down the line, not take penalties, not be out of position for the entire rep. Treat it as seriously as you would your scheme. One thing when I first started, I went hard on my scheme, and then I realized that my players were in a position. They knew where to go. They didn't know how to get there. They knew where they needed to be. They didn't know how to get there. What to do once they got there. So whenever you have those indie periods, or those drill periods, you have to treat it just as seriously as your scheme, because you can run. I've seen some teams be very successful with one or two KORs, but they just drilled it so well, and the kids are technically so sound that you can't really beat it that well. They're beating it based on technique alone and obviously a bit of athleticism. And find a way to film as much as you can, whether it be pulling out your own phone to get a clip of a player, grabbing an iPad, whatever you can do filming-wise, I think can help you immensely, and that's where equipment managers can come in. I think you can hopefully you can ask your equipment manager, do you mind just grabbing my cell phone or grabbing my iPad and just filming this one rep for me so I can get a clear view and I can show it to the players a little later. Do you have any questions about any of that at all? I don't think so. Nope.
Hey, Nathan, how
Yep,
many,
okay.
like when you do circuits, obviously linemen, I get that part, but do you get everybody else involved in the circuits, like in regards to DBs, receivers, linebackers? Like we try and teach that. So, I mean, obviously with limited rosters, you have to have a lot of guys to be able to do a lot of things, right?
Yeah. So when we do circuits, everyone's involved. Everyone except for usually the D tackles and the offensive linemen.
So same, we do the same type of thing. Okay.
Yeah, and I'll even bring the D tackles in, because if you go like punt return defense, the D tackles have to be on punt return, right? So they have to have a couple of reps of getting upfield, knowing what it feels like to be in a position. They won't get a ton because it's a lot of running, but we will involve everyone except for usually the D tackles and the offensive linemen.
Great. Thank you.
No problem. So the first drill I'm gonna go to is it's a punt return drill, and it's dubbed the punt return drill, but it truly isn't. It isn't. All of our drills can be multifaceted in the sense that even though it's a punt return drill, our punt cover guys are still getting some work. And once we can modify the drill to give the punt cover guys more flexibility within the drill, so they can actually work their skills as well. But as it's shown here right now, it's a emphasis on punt return. There's some COVID protocols to a certain degree. We had a shadow with the line of scrimmage. We weren't jamming at the beginning. So punt cover guy, we're taking an outside release, so we're allowing inside with our punt return guy to take away the best access to the punt side. We're lining up inside shade, the press technique. We'll move our feet. Our goal is always to win the line of scrimmage. This is like best case scenario. I've had very few guys that can truly dominate the line of scrimmage, and one of those guys plays for the BC Lions right now. But we still want to train them to have that mindset. We can't have them opening the gate and having players run down the field free. So we want to teach them to do their best to win the line of scrimmage. Trail, so we will create the punt cover guy will create a vertical separation, be aware the punt return man is taking position on you. That's more of a punt cover guy emphasis. For the punt return guy, we're going to be in a 60-40 trail to the return side leverage. So I'll show you guys that on film. And this is the biggest thing I think is the most important part, is make sure we coach our finish very heavily, right? A lot of players will get into position. They kind of just let things happen. They realize in their position, want to get inside, get hands inside, be tight with their elbows, and try to rock that punt cover man back onto his heels. So I'll show you some clips right here. So this is a couple years ago, so we're not in COVID, obviously. We got hands on. We're doing a good job. One of the things we want to stay away from this is we have two different situations here. So we don't want to be, as much as we can avoid, you don't want to be over top of this returner, right? Sorry, this punt cover man, because it gives him, we're assuming that this is the returner he's working to. This is his cone. It gives him the ability to backdoor us, right? We want to make sure we're 60-40. So right here, we're in a great situation. Another thing I try to keep my guys away from is having that arm completely extended. If our punt cover man is sprinting full speed, two hands running, there's no way we're going to be unless we're just legitimately much faster than him, we're going to be as fast as him with one arm hanging out. The arm is just a gauge for our distancing. So you don't want to have that arm out, and it kind of can lead to some holding calls. So we get here. This is, I think, one of the first times we ran this drill, I think, in training camp. So these guys, super lazy. It's our job, obviously, I guess, to coach effort. It's my job to get on this and coach that aspect of things out of them. So I'll just show you. So this is my favorite angle to record this drill from. One of the main things we want to focus on is their eyes. I want that eyes locked on that hip, not on the feet. They're not always perfect. What a lot of guys have a tendency to do that I've seen a ton is they're always looking for the returner. And I'll put this in my game plan. I'll put this as part of all of my installation on punt return. It's the returner's job to set up his blocks. It's not your job to set him up. So it's the returner's job to see your leverage and maximize that. It's one guy. I rather have one guy adjust to 12 than 12 guys trying to adjust to one independently of each other. So what you want to do, it's your job. Your eyes on your hip. It's like press man coverage, cover 0 on 3rd and 30. Like your eyes are locked in. You just chase him around because he goes to the washroom. You go to the washroom, he goes in the stands. You go to the stands, he goes to the bleachers. You go to the bleachers. Your job is eyes locked on that hip and chasing him down that football field with that 60-40 leverage. So here we're not in a bad position. So we have two options right here. We have one guy that's really good with his feet. So this guy right here does a great job of flipping his hips around, getting a good position. We're locked in. We want to always see our helmet below his helmet, right? It gives us a great leverage. Elbows are tucked inside, hands are inside. It's a good L right there, bent at the knees. So we're in a really good situation there. He doesn't allow too much separation. Once he breaks down, we shoot our shot. One thing I want him to do is when we get into this situation right here, we want to run our feet, try and displace him. All this does is it creates a good habit of getting the punt cover guy on his heels and away from the ball. The more times than not, you're not going to be able to actually displace him tremendously. But if you're sitting back on your heels, like we're doing right here, we're giving him the ability to displace us. We want to create as much separation for that return as possible. Another good coaching point right here is cannot happen ever, ever, ever. If a ref is sitting right here, which he probably will be, he's got eyes to that hand on the jersey. This guy, if he's smart, a punt cover guy, will flail and rip this hand through, flail and give him our back. The ref will see throw a flag for holding, and we could get a blocking in the back for our ref is standing back here because we have hands on that back. In our conference, they're very tight on blocking in the back. If you're trailing a guy, I've seen guys trail punt coverman and literally trip him like with their feet by accident. The ref sees a guy going full like forward with his hands up protecting himself. They're throwing you a flag for blocking in the back. So I've seen a couple, I don't want to say bad calls, but questionable calls. We have to stay off their backs at all costs. We use a return. We use a coach or a player here as a rabbit, catch the ball about 5 yards. We take off laterally. It allows our guys to set up our blocks. We're inside. Same deal. So these are cut kind of long, some of these. So this is another good example. This guy here, fifth-year player, he's one of our best special teams players. He'll probably factor in pretty largely on defense this year. So just to give you guys an example, so this guy right here, he's about 6'4", 6'3". This cat here is about 5'10". So like I said, he's really good. Does a great job with his feet. We're inside, and for me, it's just a pad level. Even though he is physically much taller, he's still able to get that helmet below the crown. I just see him a bit lower. I think he starts off low and rises up late. This is a good position for me. He should rise up through contact. We weren't making a ton of contact. We were still worried about COVID in these situations. It's all about the arms, about the eyes, keeping that low pad level. We're making good contact. He already, even though we're not truly blocking, he knows hands tight together. We got that good L. He's got a good bend in his knee, and he's ready to make a play. Here on the other side. So this is one issue you can see in this drill is that this is something that's I'll show you guys another drill later on how we deal with this. So this will happen sometimes if we're I'll bring it back. If we're in this starting position, there's no need. He started the cut's really tight. He started in a really tight relationship. We should not bow unless we absolutely have to. So we call this finding our angle, and I'll show you guys a drill of us doing that a little later. There's no need to do that because all this does is all this space gives the punt cover guy a chance to. What he'll do is he'll stack this guy, and now we have no leverage, and he's going to shoot and make a play on our returner. So we don't want to make sure we don't give him too much space. We want to stay tight to that hip, but at arm's length away, and give ourselves the ability to make a play in terms of that block. So we don't want to have too much space between. This is way too much space because in actuality, you're going to probably get a penalty for cleaning this guy if you do make this block, but he's making this tackle. He's shooting, he's making this tackle. We want to be tight to his hip as best as we can, and we're going to fold in and then make our block. So this is a decent example. Shoot. So this is not a bad example. So if we're in this is a great relationship. So this is what we're looking for essentially. So we're good 60-40, and that's a good spot right here. We're right on his shoulder. He's got no choice but to run into us. Otherwise, ideally, if we ever do lose a player, we want to, I call it down and around. So he's got to come down, through, and around and chase our returner's tailpipe. We never want him given the ability to fold back over into our play. So this is a really good relation. It's probably as good as it gets in terms of his relationship. No chance for blocking the back. He's got a hand on the front, which isn't ideal, but we're still good because we're square to that shoulder. And his only option, he's either going to fight the pressure, which is fine, we'll make our block, or he's got to continue with momentum, come down and around our returns off and out of the gate. One more thing here. So we have to be cognizant of the fact that a lot of guys don't realize that punt cover players, they feel things, right? So we never want to, as much as we can avoid, throwing one hand by itself. So we're throwing that one hand first. He's going to feel that, and he's probably going to wrap over top immediately. We want to do as much as we can, as simultaneously can, throw both right hands. So right here is a good example. He's another really good teamer for us. As tight as he can. He makes that contact with the first hand, bam, bam. We're on him tight. So once the punt cover guy feels the hand, he's going to react to that pressure, but we're following it up with a quick jab into his chest, whereas on the front side, this cat right here, we're late with that hand, right? So we're not, obviously here, we're not nearly as powerful. So he's going to start driving through, or he'll arm over this arm, hack it down, and fall back over it into our play. We can't be late. That hand's got to come right away, right into his chest. We're late with it, and it gives him a chance to make a play, whereas we're tight to the left-hand side. Here's another good job. Right here, we got a good job. Good 60-40, we're trailing. Right there, hand. We're tight to him, we're ready. Good pad level. So this is another example. So these are just some examples of what it is. So this is more of a live scenario. So we play with tempo always. So that was a slower tempo. This is we picked up tempo for this one. So it's just an example. We get into the situation. This does happen. Again, it's my fault as a coach. Oftentimes I taught the trail. I was so strict on the trail that I didn't allow players to do things like this. So we have a thing like if you're locked on and if you have control, use that control and ride them out. Right? I'd have guys that would get in a good situation, like they'd end up here and they'd release it thinking that they had to be in a trail to be an effective blocker. That's not the case. It puts us in the safest position to make our play down the field. But if we're locked on here and we have control, stay in control and keep on riding him out of the play. That's a better position for us because it gives the returner obviously a much clearer lane as to what he's got to do. So if we get locked on early, I tell guys stay locked on and just run your feet, ride him out. If he gets outside your frame, we'll release, find an angle, and then pick him back up late. This is just another, I'm going to add not a caveat to the drill, just a variation of this drill. It's the same, similar. So all we're doing here, the big emphasis for this drill is just a stutter. So it's just making sure that we have good eyes. One thing you're going to have to uncoach with these guys is these punt cover guys tend to go every 5 yards. Like every time I've done this drill, they very rarely switch up their tempo. So it gives the punt return guys a really good idea of when they're going to stutter. Ideally, it'll be like 3-step stutter, 10-yard stutter, 2-yard stutter, as opposed to like 5-yard stutter, 6-yard stutter, 4-yard stutter, which is usually what happens from what I've noticed by doing this drill a lot. And the main purpose of this drill, it serves two purposes. One, it trains our eyes to be locked onto the feet and the hips. So ideally, we're going to have our guys, when they're coached properly, they're going to sink at the hips and stutter their feet right here or gather their feet. So we're running full speed stutter. It's on us. The second thing is it allows us to be able to slow our pace in time with the pump cover man. So oftentimes if we're out of control, if they stutter, we'll run by them and then now they're in a position to make a play on us. And we finished, this is COVID, so we didn't engage. We just finished with an engaged position. Same deal. Just working that stutter, eyes in the right spot. And you'll find guys that don't have their eyes in the right spot, you'll see them kind of lag behind. They won't do it with the right timing. So this is another variation of the drill. I didn't draw all these up, but this is another variation we kind of on the fly. So what we'll do here is we'll have, and this is a more 50-50-ish drill, is we're going to have our punt cover men, what we call a stack, as long as they stay in lane, they can stack. So the whole goal of our stack as a punt cover man is we're going to stutter. When we stutter, we know he's going to slow his feet. We want to try to get back right behind him or right in front of him, so he's trailing our number player, trailing our numbers. So it puts him in a situation where he has to regain an angle in order to block us without taking a penalty. So he does a great job up here. We'll play it through real quick. So he starts, we're stuttering, and now he's cutting across. So what it does is it forces our punt return man to adjust his angle. Because if he doesn't adjust his angle, either we're going to end up with poor leverage because the return's going away, or we're going to let it right up on his back. And when he does stutter, when he does finally break down and make a play or make a tackle, we're going to end up running into his back and they'll draw a penalty. So it's a good way for our punt return guys and our punt cover guys to work on how to stack and how to defend against stack and how to adjust it to a punt cover man trying to stack you. So as soon as he stacks, we adjust our angle, and now we're still in a really good spot. This is a good example, a very good example actually, of a guy overshooting his landmark, right? So he did a great job, our punt cover man at the top right here. He has a quick stutter, and he stutters again real fast, and now we end up overshooting. So when he wants to, if our return is going into the boundary, which it is because he has boundary side leverage, he's gonna have the ability to fall back in that gap and make a play, right? We've lost leverage just by she overruns it. So now we're 60-40, almost in the opposite sense, where we're more dominant to that shoulder, which allows him to fall back inside. And he'll probably will draw a holding if we latch on and don't allow him to get inside. If we're running tight to that sideline, it gives him the ability to fall in and draw that penalty. Same deal. We're just working that stack stem. There, good. So I'll show you. Do you have any questions at all about the drill?
I don't see any posted. I don't see any posted yet, bud.
Perfect, thanks. So I just showed some game clips of just some guys kind of executing this.
Nathan, are you able to make? I think you can click the bottom corner and make the screen a little bit bigger. Like it's pretty small on my screen.
Oh shoot, is it?
Yeah.
Forget this.
Like I think it's the same. I think
Is it small for everyone? I gotta fix that. Sorry.
Guys, is it small for you guys? It's small for me.
No, not for me.
It's full screen for you?
Full screen for me.
Okay,
cool.
you know what? Maybe it's my end, Nathan. I'll take a look. I thought, okay, no problem.
You should see at the bottom of the screen the plus and minus, and then in the middle it should say fit, and it might fit your screen.
You know what? I just seen that. I did. Thank you very much. I thought it was Nathan's screen. I'm watching. I'm going. I'm really squinting. I'm going. Boy, this is good. Thank you.
No,
You're welcome.
We're good. We're good. Awesome. All right, so I'll just go through. So we're gonna look into the field set side. We're going against Western. Western's a phenomenal special teams unit. So the majority of these blocks will be into that field set side. We're going to the field on this return, and it's just more so understanding the guys are in the trail, they're in their angles, and they're understanding kind of what their roles are with this return. So the first guy we'll watch is this cat right here. So he gets good hands on. Like I said, it's very hard. We try to win at the line of scrimmage, but this is a disc because they're punting to the field. So we usually expect guys to punt to the boundaries. They'll have often has a boundary side leverage. So if he escapes hard and fast like here, it's very hard for us to pin him back inside without potentially giving up leverage for him to shoot down there if they actually do decide to kick into the boundary, right? So we know we have time. The more space that the ball is kicked in, the more time we have to get into our position to make a block. So he's out of leverage, which is fine. He doesn't panic, gets hands on. And this is what we're looking for. He's in a good spot. It seems like he's hooking and pulling him a bit, but my biggest thing is he's patient with his block. He's in his hip. He's seeing his punk cover man try and stack him very slightly. He knows he can't because it seems like he has contained. And as soon as he slows his feet, we get in a position where we can just run him by. And that's all it is. We're getting to the spot. We're not panicking. We're not overshooting him, because if we had panicked and we had overshot him, say if we played it over top here, he'll fall inside and he's probably going to make a play on our returner, right? So he does a great job. And all it is now we're just riding him by. Good hand placement. You can see that L we were talking about earlier. Got one hand on the back plate, which isn't bad as long as your chest is on his shoulder. If you have a hand on a back plate and your chest is on his back, they're going to flag us. So one hand on the back with his chest, your chest, or the partner man's chest on his shoulder, and one hand in the front, we're usually in pretty good position or situation. And we just ride him by. Simple as that. We're just getting his hip, riding him by, no panic. We'll see a couple others. There's one guy. Sorry, I'll bring it right back. Sorry. Yeah, one guy right here, same deal. He lost him at the line of scrimmage, which is fine. We know where we want to go with the ball, and now we're just driving. We're staying in that situation. We know where the ball is going. He gets a little bit of help from the off returner, but he still, in my opinion, I think he still would have been in a pretty good situation, a good position to get into that hip pocket, and we're just riding him by. Same difference. We got a couple more. This is one of our. Almacar's going to do a good job here. And then Dougie, sorry. This is a little different because he's truly lost his man. He's just picking up color. That's all he's doing. He's picking up. His man fell down, so he's picking up next color. That's all that is. We got another one. This one was we got saved by I think we got saved by our extra man here. So this is another example. Sorry, I'm gonna pause it. Another example. We're late to the party. We know we have to track down our man. We're patient. Like I said, we get kind of lucky that one other guy fills in. I think it might have been a block in the back, but since we got help from our second player, we end up saving that one. And it ends up setting us up for a real big return. And it's guys, and that's the thing. A lot of times guys want to win. And winning line scrimmage is incredibly important, but the biggest thing is being patient, understanding where the return is going, making sure we get to our leverage point, and not trying to kill everything that moves. We can finesse guys, we can wash guys by, and we're still in a really good spot to get a great return. So just show from the tight. Sanch gets in that hip and just washes him by, right? We talked about that hand placement earlier. That's exactly. I want his pad level a little lower. I think it's just because he's sprinting to catch up, but he still has that hand on the front, chest bit on the side, wash him by, and that sets us up for a big return, and then we're off to the races. Show another one real quick. So it's just an example of what kind of winning at the line of scrimmage does, and this is that they don't have to engage in that trail if it isn't absolutely necessary. If we get in a situation like this where we've done a good job, we've been patient with our feet. Like I said, he's a receiver, but he's done a really good job with his feet, anticipating, gets back inside. We get locked up, we don't have to release that, right? If we get in a situation, especially once his shoulders are turned, if he's not running flat out down the field, he's not sprinting, we're in a really good situation. We can keep on harassing him. We end up setting up a pretty good job in this block, hands inside, and this is kind of the guy that does a real good job of being calm and poised under pressure. We have a cat right here, so we're trying to get this thing to the field. We're popping into the field. We start with he should have been inside leverage, but we start outside leverage, and he's just patient. He understands that when we catch this ball, our returner's job is to pop it. If we have to give a little bit to pop it, we'll do that. So he doesn't have to get over anxious. He can put himself in a situation where he's just in a spot, right? He's late to the party, but he knows that this guy has to stop his feet. He's got to give that 5-yard halo. Once he stops his feet, now he can readjust. He overshoots it slightly, but we still done enough to put ourselves in a good spot to make a play, and we have some good blocks also in the field that are their wall blocks, so it's not the same technique, but they've still done a good job of understanding their angles and getting to where they got to be. Any questions about that before I go on to the next thing? Nope. Cool.
Good.
Nice. Oh, sorry about that. So I have another drill, which I call it finding your angle, which is not a great name, but it works so that it makes sense to them. So this is when we've had a guy release downfield, and this happens multiple situations. It can happen on KOR. I have this guy as drawn up as a punt return, but it has on KOR. Happens in a bunch of situations. All this is when a guy's taking leverage and has speed to the spot. So our jobs are not to get stacked and to understand where the ball is going. So it gives them, one thing is it gives them the tools, right? So like I said, like I showed you a couple of the clips, we will be at a position more times than not just based on the advantages they have by being on punt and having those releases. It teaches our players that things won't be perfect and how to adjust when things aren't perfect. It'll definitely save you from penalties, and it makes you a more effective return team. Once you give these guys the tools to be effective when things aren't absolutely perfect, it just makes their lives easier. It'd be like never practicing a scramble drill with your quarterback. Like that's not a logical thing to do as an OC. Like he has to know what to do when things break down. Like where do I go? Who do I look for? Which receiver is doing what? So that gives these guys as many tools as possible. So this drill is drawn up 3 to 4 yards behind the punt cover player. The better they get at this, the further away you can put them, and the more they have to kind of get to their spot. But I think when you're first starting this drill out, 2 to 3, we usually do around 3 to 4. And we've done it as far as 4 to 5, and they're bellying and they're getting a lot of ground, but it still puts them in a good position. We're taking an angle to the return direction that allows us to intercept the puck cover man. Our goal is to give up as little ground horizontally as possible. Do not allow him to stack you. So like I showed you guys earlier, we don't want this guy to bail all the way here. Because if he does bail all the way here, this cat here is just going to shoot and make a play on our returner, right? So it's they got to figure out how fast the guy is, where they fit in, and what's best for them. That's why it's good to give them reps at this and make sure they get different matchups. Get a guy that's fast and you get a guy that's slower, so they know exactly kind of where they fit in. And the punt cover guy just take an angle to the returner and react to his movement. So we don't want him to cheat the drill. I don't want this guy anticipating the return going out here and him just shooting, because our punt return guy will never have the ability to get there. The punt cover guy traditionally does have a lane and a landmark, so he's going to go his lane and landmark, and we'll try to take advantage of that as best as we can. So this is just the drill right here. We ran this with our receiver group. So like I said, this is about 3 yards. And watch it. Well, guys are going to cheat. One thing that I'll show you a couple. One thing that a lot of guys do is they'll start angling themselves. He's doing it slightly. We want to be straight. We want to make this drill. They need to understand when we do this drill, we're putting you in a bad spot. Like, it's okay to get beat. We're learning through this process. So if you cheat the drill, you're not helping yourself be prepared for a game time situation where maybe you trip and fall. Maybe you get something happens. You run into a ref as they're going downfield and you lose your spot. Like, we have to find ways to get back to where we got to be in bad situations. So we'll get started on this. So this is a good deal. It's okay if they release immediately, because we're assuming that we know we're in a trail position. We know that we're out of sync, or we're not in a good relationship. So he can immediately drive off and get that angle. He doesn't have to. This is a great job right here. We get there early, and we have to understand that when we're getting this spot, we have to get there early, beat him to the punch. And now this is COVID, unfortunately, so we can't make contact. But this is all we're looking for: getting to our spot, getting our hands inside, and be able to make a play. And like I said, this drill, I had 1 year we took way too many penalties on punt return. And this drill, that's when I started using more drills like this, because it ended up saving us a ton of penalties in the back end. So it also teaches guys when they've lost a rep. Like, you're going to lose reps like football. That's like life. You're not going to win everything you do. So you have to learn, like, if I've lost a rep, move on. Like, find other work. Don't just chase them. Don't just chase us back all play long and then get a 15-yard penalty and come back upset. Like, you have to kind of know when to let go and find something else to do, and don't just chase them forever. So it gives them the tools to understand what their limitations are and when they have to kind of bow out and find different work. It's a great job here. He takes off. This is a really good drill because he takes off hard and fast. You can tell he's staying as tight as he possibly can. Like, he hasn't bellied. He is a little. I'd like him to be further stacked inside. That's making it easier on himself. But he's out here. But at least he isn't cheating the angle by coming out here. He's driving down hard, and that's the goal. That you'll drive down hard, put your head down, find your angle. We're in a good relationship right there. So this is what I'm talking about in terms of cheating. Like, this is not. This makes it much easier than it needs to be, right? We want to be straight. We're chasing him. So he's cheating a little bit. He's a great athlete, so he doesn't really have to. So same deal, just driving, finding our spot. He does keep it tight. We just want to make sure that we don't. This is not a great situation for us to be in, because chances are he's going to try and blow through us. So we want to really flip our hips and square it to him. Oh, wow, square. Flip our hips and square it to him as best we can and get on that shoulder. He fixes it late, but here, this guy's going to rip right through us, and we might grab a holding call. So we want to get there fast, flip our hips, and get in a good spot. Yeah, this is a good drill. This is exactly what we're looking for right here. Bam, hips flipped. And this is a really good relationship. If he wants to fold, because this is our return right here. I shouldn't have said this from the get-go. That's our return, and he's going on the return. He cannot, I shouldn't say he cannot. He can't fold into the return without taking an incredibly high angle, which is hard to do with his momentum, taking him downfield. His only recourse is, like I said, to go down and around and chase this guy's heels, right? And that's what we want. So we get there, right? There's a really good position. We have our strong shoulder here. We can block him, but we can still work upfield to cut him off. That's a good angle. Excuse me. So this is a young guy. So this is the situation that they get into oftentimes. They can get, especially when I think this is the first time he's ever run this drill, and he's a pretty good athlete. So he's just chasing. He's fresh in, so he's just taught to just chase. That's all he's doing right now. This is what we want to get them out of the habit of. We aren't robots. You have to adjust to the things that are happening. We have to have that situational awareness. So he takes off. He's picked his line. He's decided, I'm running straight down here. and I'm faster than him, so I'm gonna cut him off. That isn't always the case. So he tries to adjust his line late, and then this is where this cannot be the position. If we get here, I'd much rather we tell our guys if we get in this situation, just turn upfield. Trust our return will make somebody miss, and then get upfield. If you can't get in a situation, all you're gonna do is potentially get a blocking in the back. Because if this guy, even if he misses and you're pressed up on his back trying to avoid him with your hands up in the air, the rest might still flag us. If we get caught in a true, if we're really in his tailpipe right behind him, stacked like this, that's what this is a great teaching point for us. Because I'm gonna tell these guys, look up field, find different work. Now this is where they got to learn exactly what they have to do in these situations. They can't just be pressed up on his back because they will flag us for it. He's a vet, does a great job, good angle, good finish. This is just a flyby. So we call these scrape bys, flybys. I'll show you some clips of those a little later. So whenever we get, it's another technique that we drill. We don't really drill this independently of our drills. We try to incorporate it as part of our drills. So whenever we get in a situation, like I said, this is our situational awareness piece. If you think you might take a block in the back, all we got to do is really shield. I tell the guys, like, all you got to do is exist at the moment between the tackler and the returner would intercept. So if we exist in this moment, he physically cannot tackle unless he bloat, which is possible. Unless he blows right through you and makes a play like Jadeveon Clowney with Southern Carolina against Michigan. Unless he does one of those deals, that's not the case, right? He's gonna have to he's gonna get spooked. He'll stand up. A little bit of run right by him. A couple more. I won't spend too much time on these deals. Yeah, another good job. And this is one thing you can also add because this guy was cheating a whole lot, so I took the returner role. These guys will start to cheat a bunch. So when they do start to cheat, have the return, either return or the free will to go either way. Because it can't happen if a returner, great returners have the ability to kind of see spots so they can make a play. And they do see a guy over, like if in real life, if I have a returner, even if we're going to, because technically this would be a field return, we'd be popping it out here. If we know the contain guy is overcommitted, I don't mind my guy putting his foot in the ground and taking it up here and hoping for the best, right? You got to give them some kind of flexibility. They are athletes. Like you coach running backs. You coach running backs essentially from what I can tell, through the line of scrimmage. After that, do what you do, right? You're an athlete, make a play. So same situation here. We get here, we see a guy overcompensating. We'll tell a returner, you'll stick your foot in the ground and make him pay, right? If he wants to cheat here, we'll pop it and we'll do that. So I noticed he was cheating. So if you see these kind of things while you're doing the drills, make him pay. And it's a good teaching point or a good coaching point because he'll know as a punt cover guy, that is a possibility. So like I said, coming down here, he cheated. Now he's confused. Oh, we're supposed to go this way. It's like, no, you're supposed to react to the returner. So that's important. We have stimuluses for a reason. Yeah, he's upset. So go to a couple. Any questions at all? I know I'm stopping for questions a lot. Nope. Okay, so we'll go through a couple returns. So I'll just kind of show you guys a few of these. So we got a couple pretty good. We have three, but two really good. We have two really good ones. So we're gonna look at 27 right here, and then we have two off the screen. So 27 is aware he's actually with the Alouettes right now. He knows he's into the boundary. We anticipated a field kick. We're trying to bring it back. So he knows he's not panicking because he knows full well when we catch his football, we're putting our foot in the ground and we're taking off that way with our returner. So he's put himself in a situation where if he had chased right to the man and his guy puts on his brakes, he can fall back inside, chase flat, now we're in trouble. The guy that did a phenomenal job is this cat right here because even though he's super far from the ball, he understands what we're trying to accomplish. He hugs up tight, gets to his hip. We're just in his face, right? Go. Did someone ask something? Nope. Okay. So yeah, he's done a great job. He's on him. Like I said, it just exists. Like ideally, we would be in a situation where we're actually hands on, hands inside with tight elbows. But what's the difference, in my opinion? There's no difference between hands inside and him kind of screening him. And another guy that's done a phenomenal job is two. Sorry, it was 1 and 2 did really good jobs in this play. Same deal. They understand we're trying to go with the ball. He folds. He just runs him by. Simple as that. And that's not even close to a penalty. We can see we got our shoulder on his shoulder, and we're just running him by. Simple as that. And then we get upfield, and the rest is the rest. I think it's just the tight of that same clip, if I'm not mistaken. Oh, no, this is a different clip. Yeah, so same deal. Just look at a couple of these guys. Look at 15, 23 is not bad, but 15 does a good job of not panicking. He knows where we're going, right? So we're going to belly out, get in his hip, ride him by. And we're good on that. What else is good? Did he do a good job? Yeah, no, sorry, another good one. I apologize. 14. Same deal, gets stacked a little bit. So this is where we come into the issue of guys kind of not hustling or not being where they got to be. Is we got 8 here, unfortunately. He should have picked an angle. So this is like literally worst case scenario when you're on punt return as a return man, is we can't allow our guy to stack us, because now I coach receivers now, so we call this being in the blind spot. When we're in a blind spot, we have no idea where he is or what he's doing. So we could poke out here, and once a good punt cover man will poke his head out here, force you to assume he's going there, and then stab hard back outside and get to his lane. It's kind of what happens here. He gets into his blind spot. We have no idea kind of what's going on. We've lost vision. Now he's back across our face, and he's able to fold into that return, right? Oh, and then, sorry, I'll do this last one just because it's part of the find your angle stuff. We'll do it from the tight. Same deal. Like I said, we're not pressing it. We got a guy hanging out here. He knows he's responsible for this. His man right in here, and he allows it to develop. He allows it to develop. We're, like I said, just existing. We could have made this block head up, but now we risk the penalty, right? And that's big for us to coach, especially in today's day and age with concussion protocols and the way we want football to. The safest way we want football to be played is this way. Is if we don't want to kill guys. I tell my biggest thing is we want to control, not kill. So we just want to control him. Here we control him. He can't make a play. It's not a great run by. We end up tripping him up, which makes things more successful. These are much tighter, much cleaner run bys. So this is probably our best run bys of the year of slices right here. We're existing at the very moment where he would intercept or try to make a play on our return. That's all it is. We give him our back. The rest should never flag this. We're good. We get another one, not bad here. He's engaging, so we won't get a flag on that. And then we're up the field. He should have punched it outside, but that's neither here nor there. We'll go through one more, just a tight. Yeah, so we're going to look at this cat right here. 18, same deal. He knows he's got the long snapper. I'm not a huge fan of the way that he did what he did, because I don't like losing guys, but he does snap his head around quick. He knows where he's got to be. Sets up inside. We're in a good spot right there. It gives us a chance, right? It's not perfect. You don't get a great return, but it gives us a chance. It's an opportunity to get in that long snapper right there. Making a big play. Not a big play, making a decent play, I should say. And we won't do that one. That one's good. Yeah, we're good on that one. Awesome. Any questions at all about that one? I'll keep on rolling. Nope. We're all still there, right? I want to make sure I'm not, because I can't see you guys. So I want to make sure I'm not talking.
Well, everyone's good. So, yep, no messages right now, Coach.
Thank you. I appreciate it. So this is one of our kickoff drills. Like I said, we try to incorporate as many things as we possibly can for this drill, especially, which is just our kickoff avoid drill. Oh, shoot, sorry. Yeah, it's just our kickoff avoid drill. Relatively simple. So what we're doing is we have 2 kickoff cover guys. You can add 3 or 4 depending on your group. When we do circuits, we usually keep it between 2 and 3 depending on the size of the group. We want these guys to really emphasize on their effort within this drill and make sure they're executing instead of just running a million reps with minimal effort. So the kick direction, we're kicking over here to the left-hand side. We got a kick cover guy, so I'll kind of explain a couple things. Well, one more thing after this. So this is all done in the avoid zone. So actually, I'll do that real quick. So this is kind of how most teams do things. I won't go over all the stuff on the right, but just on the left. So this is our speed and read zone. We got our avoid zone. So most of these things, all the stemming and ripping is done in the avoid zone, because that's when we're allowed to avoid, so we're not proximal to the returner, so we don't have to come to balance and engage, so we can hold our landmarks or our lanes. We still have the opportunity to get onto our true landmark, our true leverage point. Once we get to the shock and shed zone, we're shocking, we're shedding, we're making a tackle. That's when we make contact with a kickoff return man in that zone. We want to make sure that we get engaged because we avoid him. Chances it gives the ability for them to wash us by. We won't control the point, or it gives them the ability for the return to cut off of our shed, sorry, off of our avoid. So that's kind of how we do it. So I'll go back. So yeah, like I said, so we're considering the sprint period, the speed and read zone, our stem and our rip and avoid. That'll be our true avoid zone. And I've done this drill before. We will add, like when we get further into camp, we will add a shock and shed as well. At this point in time, we just did a gather. We will add a shock shed, and then we're shooting our play and making a tackle. So like I said, the big thing for this is we're sprinting for that 5 yards. The most important part is we're stemming. So we want to force the kickoff return guy off of his landmark or off of his lane. We want to influence him as much as we can. So this is no different from a return or not return. I apologize. A receiver stemming either the top or the bottom of his route when it comes to trying to get a DB off of his shade or take a DB's alignment away from him. Right? If we're on an in-breaking route, chances are you want to end up on that DB's inside shoulder before making our break. So very similar concept. When we rip and avoid, it's a violent rip avoid. One thing that's important is also a stick step to this. So I'll show you guys on film. So we're 5 yard sprint. We stem him. We don't want to cross his face necessarily, and so we can beat him clean. I'll talk about that a bit later. We just want to get to his shoulder, make him uncomfortable, put him almost in his blind spot, take a pressure step off that outside foot. We're back inside. You'll see some guys are lazy with their rip or their avoid. Got to be good with their rip and our avoid, especially in drills. And then we're gathering. We'll make a tackle. I went over this already. This is one of our first reps of camp. So this is again a freshman versus a guy that's in his 5th year. So he's done this drill a few times. So same deal. We're 5 yards downfield. We're stepping inside, a good rip. So this is what you want to avoid as best as we can. So we have our KOR guys facing away. So we're assuming that we've done enough to pressure him that we can get to that shoulder and then take his back. So the goal, there are 2 principles that most teams use. You either want to avoid kick side. For me, it's kick side whenever possible, or butt side. Ideally, it's a combination of the 2. So this is kick side and butt side. So we've done a good job with the balls being kicked in here. We know we're trying to get kicked out, so we're going to avoid kick side. We're going to go butt side. So drive that hip and get to that butt side. And the main reason for butt side is just because he can't block you with his back, right? He's turned away from you, so you want to dip and rip and get back away from him, stay low through it. So same deal, not bad. We want to be really overemphasized. So I'll show you some better clips a little later. But we got our cat here, Dawson's doing a good job of getting here. And we wanted to get to him, make him take that step, get his momentum going towards the sideline and use it against him to pop back inside and get to our point. This is when it comes to coaching everything. When they get down here, this is still a coaching part, right? So ideally, you'll have a coach there, or you'll be there yourself. Just especially the offensive guys, because they don't do a lot of gathering, they don't do a lot of shimming, they don't do a lot of tackling. They're tackling like drills, so they really got to learn how to do these things. And this is a perfect time to teach them, right? So we tell us guys, feet aren't bad. We want to lower pedal. We don't want our hands out to our side. That's unnecessary. Another one. Same deal. Another thing is we want to stay away from as much as we can. Is we're not ripping like we're defensive ends. We do want to be low. We don't want to be too low. The main reason why we don't want it is it's not a realistic thing. It's very difficult to run full speed and get that low unless you're Jadeveon Clowney, Myles Garrett, guys that have incredible bend, and some guys will be able to bend that way, but most guys can't be running full speed on kickoff, stem, and then rip that low, right? So we want to make sure we do still have some power to us. We will be a little high. We're kind of ripping. I teach the guys to rip almost like through the swell of their back, just through their back. Here, not bad. And he does a good job. We're stepping inside. That's when I talk about that stick step right here. We're sticking, just forcing them to overcompensate and then get to a good spot. One thing we'll coach right here is we don't want to be cocked. We want to have our shoulders parallel, only because this locks our hips. So if this returner wants to pop it outside, he'll have a much harder time of retreating. He's going to have to fold late and make a play, whereas this guy, he's parallel. He can just plant off this outside foot and drive across. This guy has no leverage to plant off of. So that's one thing I said, you gotta coach that up. It's a great time to do it. Same deal. This guy might actually be able to do it in real life because he is super flexible, but we still want to have him. He's fast, so he's really used to just playing in space. We got to tell him, you got to press it. You got to press it. Use your speed to put the fear of God into him, make him overcompensate. And then taking his back is that much easier. But like I said, he bends incredibly well. It's insane. That's a good stick step. And then our feet are good there. We want to be a little lower throughout. So these are two really good guys. They do, in my opinion, do a really good job with this drill. So a good 5 yards, and we're just pressing. He gets into a really good relationship. We're almost head up, so now he's got to make a decision. If he has to block you out this way, he has to take one extra step. If he doesn't, we'll bowl him over. But ideally, we're planting on the outside foot, and we're driving back inside across his back, taking his back with a good rip right through the swell of his back. I want to see it higher near the end. We got our Cat Daniel here. Does a good job as well. 5 yards, hard inside, spook him back inside. And he's another one where he's a receiver, right? So they do this deal a lot. They want to be cocked. They want to face everything head on. He's got to make sure we keep him square so we can play on punt for us. So we can't have this guy bounce outside of us. We fixed him up right away, yeah. So then another big thing is if you can't coach him up on the spot immediately, he knows right away. So next time he does, he's not going to make that mistake. And then this guy. So this is probably his third or fourth rep now. Much better. Much better. He understands the drill. 5 yards hard. Stemming inside hard. That's like not beautiful, but this is what you want to see. Hard for 5 yards. Stems him. Sticks that foot right through the back. And then we're in a pretty good spot right there. It's a good rep right there. I'm happy with that one. And I'll just go to a change up on this. So one change up we can do. I think they messed this up. So you can have them line up square, so we're not sure where they're gonna go. And this is a pure butt side release. So you're gonna wherever he goes, you're gonna go opposite. So we have them. The biggest thing is making sure these guys understand it. They pay attention, because sometimes they'll both turn the same way. You have guys like running into each other. But I tell them when they're about 5 yards away, and this drill is an overemphasis because there's very rarely a situation where this guy's making a decision at 5 yards. He's probably made it a little sooner. But the whole point of the drill is to have them think on the fly and make a decision on the fly. So he gets down here, our pitter pattern. He's late exactly at 5 because he shouldn't have to stop his feet. But either way, butt side, we're in a good situation, right? And that's the biggest thing. You see that guy flash butt side, and you will see some guys we call it pump faking on block, where they'll pretend they're going one way and go another way. So this is a good way to kind of train that reaction. Same deal. We get to the top 5 yards away, flip it. We take that butt side. We're in a good spot. And it's just a variation that same drill. It's really easy to implement. So you go show you guys some game clips. See from the tight. Where are we at right here? Actually, I'll show you. So we have a couple good ones. So this is a good one right here. It's more of the proof of concept as opposed to him actually doing it not correctly, but this guy travels from so far that he's got too much momentum in this way to really stop him. So our cat's right here, number 36. You guys won't see his number real well. So he's coming down. He gets in that situation. He sees this guy, and he's avoiding butt side, right? So he knows he hasn't stemmed it because he doesn't have to, because he's already – another key point is we can't stem to stem. Like, if we stem too far, like, we can't come out of our lane to influence, because then we even be able to stem, stick, and make a miss, and then fall all the way back inside. Our timing won't be right. So if we get in a situation like this where he's done a decent stem, and this is the most important part, right, is he sees the defender, or so the KR man, seems stick him and then go butt side, right? And it's not a perfect butt side. We can see he's trying to attempt to take his back, and now we're clean off that block. He's missed his block. They try to get late. He ends up falling into the play, or being a part of the play, but just him being able to get off that play is the most important aspect of this whole deal. Show you this one from the tight. Oh, it's already 8:55. Goodness gracious. Sorry, some of the cuts are a little long, unfortunately. This is really long. Actually, sorry about that. Holy smokes. Awesome. Okay, so we're watching number 2's on this a lot, actually. We're watching number 2. He's a little oblivious, and it's not his fault. They're double teaming. He doesn't realize it until it's too late. But it's just, like I said, more so a proof of concept and him understanding what needs to happen. So he's coming down, and he's got eyes to this man right here, right? He's not aware that there's a guy that's going to fold in on him late. This is the guy that's going to fold on him late. But just the fact that he initiates a concept and wants to go butt side, and he's also going return side. This was super helpful, but he thinks this is the only guy that's blocking. Sorry, he thinks this is the only guy that's blocking him. He knows his best way to beat this guy is to stick him out here and try and pop him back to the butt side. So he comes down, he goes butt side. This guy isn't necessarily prepared for it. Comes off that. It's like he folds in late and he makes a play. Like, it's not perfect, but it's a proof of concept. He knows what's going on. We got a similar situation here. And this is just where it comes to this is an extreme stem. Comes to kind of get into that blind spot. And stemming will get you into a player's blind spot, ideally. And once you get there, you can play with him. So he's done a good job. He realizes that guy's responsible for me. He has no idea where I am. So if he's not making contact, we can keep on playing with him, right? We end up squeezing in, and it's not perfect. Like, we don't wrap up, unfortunately. We're not the person to make the play, but we get a shot on him. The other guy that avoided butt side is on that play. Show you one more, I think. This one's cut much tighter, so it's better. Same deal. We're watching Two again. Two had a great game. So we're watching that cat right there, too. He's coming down, running down the football field. Same deal. So he's not really. He thinks it's this cat. He has no idea this cat's coming to join the party. When he does feel it late, he knows his best course of action. I can't avoid. Well, he knows his lane is down here, so I can't. There's no way I can go out here and be helpful to the kick cover team. He knows that he's got to pop back inside, right? So he sees this cat late, puts the brakes on. His goal, like I said, it's not perfect because we can't rip by and we're getting double team, but his goal is to get back inside and avoid butt side of the closest man to return. He avoids butt side. He's weak to it. Another thing it does is if they don't get a clean shot, they don't have a ton of power. Once you cross his shoulder, he has no power to make you stop. He can derail you slightly, but he can't, unless he's a freak out, he can't flip his hips and stone you cold. He's gonna have to lose that battle. We cross his face. He does another great job of picking contact, and we're in to make a tackle. Yeah, we're in to make a tackle. I think that's it. Yeah, that's it. Any questions on that at all?
None so far, Coach.
Oh, wow, nice. I'm either doing really, really well or really, really poorly. It's one of the two. We'll go to our J blocks. This is a KOR block. This is one of the toughest blocks you'll do on KOR, just because a lot of times they'll lose vision to it. Everyone does this a little differently. I call it J block because it looks like a little bit like a J. I'm sure there's a much better name for it. Different people do differently. I always like installing the J block first. Some teams will have their players, I call it being blind to the return. So what they'll have is, instead of having them drive back and make this little J, and all, because when we're doing this, our chest or our eyes are always facing the kickoff man, right? Some guys will allow their players, and our guys have done it a ton of times, which is fine, is that they'll drive and they'll loop and they'll slightly momentarily lose vision to their man and pick them up here, which there is no right or wrong. The only reason I don't like it is because we're not sure what the kickoff return guy is doing. Once we cross him here, we lose vision. I've seen really good kickoff men that have a little bit of flexibility in their system. They'll see that and they'll dive inside hard and they'll fold out late. So you'll pop out here and you'll have no idea where he is, and he's hanging out down here. It doesn't happen a ton, but I think doing this way kind of saves you that issue. But some guys that where speed may be an issue, and this guy can really run. It's your job as a coordinator also to make sure that this guy is almost as fast as a kickoff guy. You don't want to put a slower guy there if you can avoid it during your scheming. But if it does happen, you have to give them the ability, like, coach, my best bet for this guy is I got to peel back, dig deep, kick him out late, which is fine. It's just a way of doing it. Yes, you're relying on codes. We can start 7 yards by 3 yards. You can change it however you see fit. The further away you start the drill, the easier it is for them, the tighter it is. The harder it is for them to get their angle and get to a spot. On the whistle, the biggest thing is drive with depth and drive with speed, keeping your eyes on your man. That is the one thing I can't emphasize enough, is speed and depth. Like, you're as fast as you can run. If you run a 4.4, I need a 4.39. You got to drive hard and fast, get inside. We can get there early, get stuff, and now we have leverage too. We know what he's doing. We just don't want to square him because he'll bull us over. And then once we cross our man's face, our job is to flip our hips and set on his field hip. It's an upfield hip, sorry, with a 60-40 leverage, very similar to all of our other return styles. Another big coaching point is just making sure these guys take slight kick side angles, right? Because we're assuming For this drill, we're backside of return, so we're opposite leverage of the returns going that way. We're backside of that, so we can finesse our blocks more so because we're away from our return. We don't have to be as stout at the point of attack, so we can finesse. We can come deep and across and get into a spot. The kick directions here, so you got to make sure that these guys take angles. If they go straight down the field, which I've seen a lot of guys do by accident, they don't understand the drill. The angles just aren't good. You're not going to be You're not going to be kickoff back. The kick's going to the left. You're not going to run straight down the field if you're backside of that kickoff. So that just kind of helps them stay in check. So just the drill. So I actually got a couple good reps pretty early on. This guy does a real good job early. A couple things you got to look out for is a lot of times sometimes we'll be too flat too soon, and that's just because the drill is condensed, so it's easy to be flat. Like technically, these guys have a full speed run up, right? But I don't want to gas these guys 24/7 dealing with full speed run ups. But it's more like I said, the premise. He does a great job. This is what we want to see. Eyes on the target. He knows this is his man. He's counted off. I have 11 on kickoff, and we're driving hard and fast. He does dip his head. I'd like to see him keep his eyes, but he does do a good job of getting back up or in the hip or 60-40. He wants to go anywhere. He's got to go down and around or through my chest that he can't fold back inside. This guy is really flat, which is actually has to do more so with the position he actually plays on KOR. I think he's transferred his skill set to the actual drill where a lot of his blocks are super flat. But he's coming across. And that's not bad. He's very good on KOR. Actually, he's been a great guy for us on KOR. He's coming flat. I don't like how flat he is, but given what he does a lot, I understand why he's doing it that way. But we're not in a bad spot. One thing we want to avoid a little bit, and this isn't terrible, is we don't want to set up too quickly because he's not in a bad spot. But right in this moment, we've given this guy a two-way goal. If we set up early, we want to be further outside or further to the return set side. So if you're fast and you beat your guy, so if I'm fast and I beat my guy, I can't be lined up tight because now he can two-way goal me any which way. If I was fast and I'm early, I can line up in here. So now I have the ability to move, to be on the move, to give myself space to readjust my line. If we get here and he wants to dive inside, I have maybe 2 yards to make a decision. If I'm out here, because I've gotten farther inside, I have about 6 or 7 yards to make a decision and readjust my angle. The only time where we do that, we can be in this situation is if we were to the return side and we have to be super stout at the point of attack. So if the ball is coming back, say if we're running a middle return, then I could understand him being super stout inside and tight because we know the guy's going to run into us. The guy can't fold over because he'll run by the return. Sorry. 904. That's good. So this isn't a bad deal right here. He does a good job. One thing is his angle. We don't want to start flat and adjust. Ideally, best case scenarios, we start deep and we can flatten out late, right? Just gives us more wiggle room. If we start out flat and then bail late, now we end up in a bit of trouble in terms of finding our angle back because now he's got leverage to us and he's got depth on it. So we want to start gaining that depth. We know he's got to go downfield, gain our depth. And if we beat him, then we can flatten out, come across and make our play. But if we come out flat, now we end up chasing and we're in a bad spot. So he ends up being super flat. Our kickoff guy isn't giving us a great look, unfortunately. And that's another good point. It's important that we coach up. Luckily, we meet before all of our stuff, so we'll give these at the tempo more or less, or we might change the tempo on the fly. So I think it's one of our first day doing this drill, so we might not have been going full bore, but eventually have to get to a near full speed, especially going into week one as a kickoff team or kickoff return team. Like kickoff, they're hunting, so you got to make sure your guys are prepared for that. So this is where we're not in a bad spot. Since he's early as opposed to the other guy, we're further inside, so we have all this room to work. If he wants to dip inside or outside, we're in a really good spot. I'd like him to close that gap sooner, and we end up with pretty bad leverage, but his depth is good. We're in a good spot to make our block. So this is a really bad situation. So you want to avoid this. So he's first time doing the drill. Our cat right down here, he gets much better down the road. We can't start shading or we can't start transitioning when we're head up because in this situation, a good kickoff on, especially backside, is just going to go. He'll see you squaring him up and he's just going to take off. And if he does have contain, he'll take off. He'll stack back outside late. That's what I would teach my guys to do. If you see him doing this super late, literally all you would do is step inside hard, take his back, and we're off to the races, right? Like I said, this is one of his first times doing it. So I won't bore you with too many of these clips. We're good there. That's good. Not bad. Another thing, we don't want to get caught in this situation here because you have to assume this guy's got a full head of steam, right? So if you square him up, I've seen some of our guys, it's happened to them all across the league. Some kickoff guys, they'll just run through you, and they have the ability, right? If you have zero power, next to zero power, right when you're in this transition point because your feet or your hips are crossed, he'll just drop his shoulder and he'll run right. If he's smart, he'll run right through the shoulder. Right as you're trying to transition, as you're trying to close the get on him, he'll rip right through that shoulder. You'll fly open, you'll hold him. He doesn't go around, but he's going to get down that football field. So you got to make sure when you just have to transition, like I said, you have to clear him and then start flipping your hips. That's a good drill. So this is actually after a few reps, the guys are getting pretty good at it. So we're good here. That's a good job. He does a great job with his eyes, right? He's doing his best to kind of keep his eyes back. You see right second right here in the hip, wash him by. Same deal at the top. We're good. I'll get some game clips. We're running out of time a bit. So we'll go to some game clips. So this is the guy that I was telling you that was flat all the time. This is actually him. And a lot of his job is because he's not in the middle, you're almost never backside of a return unless you're doing something exotic. So I think he's just kind of transitioning everything he does in real life. So on this, we'd want him to kind of get further across. He still does a good job of riding him out, and that's the big thing. And the next guy we're going to look at, we're going to take a peek at 14. He's backside of the return. This is a long run, unfortunately, so these can be tough. But he's got eyes too. Sets up. He locks up. One thing I will admit, I'll give you guys a tight. It's a much better look. Yeah, one thing I will admit, he does get some help from our field returner. Not from our field returner, from our boundary, and I apologize. But he knows he's got to drive deep, hard, and fast, and try and get inside leverage so we can pop this return, right? He does a good job. He does, like I said, we do get help because this guy, he flashes and it spooks him, so he bounces up. I still think we would have done a pretty good job of getting to where we got to be. We're on the hip, we're pressed in, and we're able to wash him out. The free man makes a tackle, which is more than fine. But you can just see that our guy's done a great job of kind of executing that technique and getting to where he's got to be. So driving hard. And like I said, this is a long run. This is probably as bad as it gets in terms of how I scheme things up, especially when a guy drives further inside than I expect him to. But he's done a good job of fighting hard. He's in position. We're washing him out. Like I said, the free guy makes a play, but that's ball. Sorry, we'll tie it again. It's better. Sorry, I'm glitching a bit. So we're going to look at it right here. Sorry, I apologize. 15. Same deal. His not saving grace. One thing that makes his job a ton easier. He's already got a lot of depth. But the goal is still the same. We got to get across his face in order to kick him out. He has good vision too. He holds his line. He sets up early but deep inside. So now he knows if this guy wants to fall back, I can do my best to cut him off. And at least I'm slowing him up. We're inside. We got good hands on. We're in a pretty good spot there. That's what we're looking for. And even here, this is another really tough block from our guy right here. Cody Cranston's for the Montreal Alouettes. Same dude. He's got to drive hard inside. And this is where it's important to give these guys tools, right? So this is more of a finesse block, but he understands his responsibilities to keep this guy on this side of the numbers. Everything over here, because we're trying to pop it to the boundary, you just got to keep him off the numbers. That's his big thing. He knows that's his job. He's driven hard, fast. He's all the way inside, flits his hips, and that's all it is. We're washing him by. He has no chance. And this is when I talk about that 60-40. This is like more 70-30. But still, this guy has no choice but to go down and underneath, and that's not a good position for him to be in. We end up in a good spot. We wash him out. We get a pretty good return off of it. These are just some of our backside blocks. And that's just some wall stuff. Should have moved upfield, but we're good on that. I think I got one more. No, we're good. I don't want to bore you guys with all this stuff. Yeah, I won't bore you guys with all this stuff. Actually, no, let's see this one. Sorry. There you go. See from the tight real quick. Sorry. There you go. We're good. Oh no, we're good on this clip. Any questions on that at all?
I don't see any right now, Coach. Still, I don't see any.
Okay, cool. Am I good for time? I have like one more section. I don't have to do it, but
It doesn't matter to me. It's kind of what everybody wants. I mean, I love the detail with the simple, like I love the diagrams with the details for what to emphasize on and stuff. So that's been great. What's everyone think? Everyone okay?
I'm all good. I'd say keep going.
Yeah, we can keep going.
Yeah, sure. Okay, that's fine.
Cool. Not here. That's not right. Let me see. It's not gonna work for me. Shoot. I'll do this real quick. Sorry, I'm just gonna pull up the right clip because my diagrams are all messed up right now. Oh, sorry, all my diagrams aren't showing up where they're supposed to. Okay, so I'll walk through this one without the diagram. I don't know why it's not showing up the way it's supposed to, but I think we can fight through it. Yeah. So it's just our pump block drill. I'll zip through this stuff real quick. So this is just one of our interior pressures. So a big thing for this is coaching is all hands and eyes and kind of how we explode off the ball. So one of the main issues you see with this is actually not bad. We want to dip through. We want to teach our guys to dip and rip through that hip. If they're too high, the guy's going to lean on you and knock you over. Second point of emphasis is really that eyes on that full extension. We want to work as much as we can, get full extension. We don't want to, and this happens a lot in these drills, is we'll have that's not bad, sorry. I like a little more extension, but that's not bad. We want to make sure we see them all the way through. I teach my guys to have diamonds. We have our hands spread out apart, make a big diamond with our hands, get as much surface area as we possibly can. So even if it's not fully blocked, at least we get a piece of that, ideally. Some of our tight. So one of our best block guys on the team last year, Cody. So what we want to do is a lot of, especially the DBs, they're not really sure how to rip or how to get through a hip because it's more of a DN linebacker type deal. So we don't want to engage two hands, right? That's not ideal. We want to rip through that hip. Like anything else, this is one thing he was phenomenal. I'll show you some clips later on about how he executed a lot of these things for us. It's just that's picture perfect for me. We see his eyes right through the ball. I can tell he's looking through that diamond. His hands are full extension. He's giving us everything we got. We introduce a ball. That's something I won't do till later because you'll see guys pick up their heads early because they want to chase that ball down. So don't introduce the ball until you guys are very comfortable and the guys have executed the technique properly. And then when you do introduce the ball, never let them fall on it. Always scoop and score. Even if it takes you 5 minutes, they have to practice bending at the knees, scooping and scoring. So even if they can't corral it, tell them to gain their patience because we blocked the punt. Even if they do recover it, it's still our ball. You know what I mean? So as long obviously it doesn't cross the line of scrimmage, then they can recover. But in this moment in time, no matter what happens, we have possession as long as it's behind the line of scrimmage. So we got to tell you guys, take your time. If they hop on it, if the punter hops on it, it's still our ball. We still have the turnover. We want to pick it up. We want to return the ball for a touchdown. So that's a big thing that you have to really emphasize, right? Even here, he's doing a good job of taking his time. He's not panicking. Let it jump around. Because chances of the puncher's on the ground. So it's the up backs maybe they're chasing you down. Same deal. Don't want to keep the hands down. We want to keep the hands out and away. Rip through that. Another great job. Like I said, this is exactly how you want it to look. That's how we coach it up. It's a nice little play by him. Just an interior deal. Same deal. Good job. He's a good job here ripping, right? He's been coached a little bit. This is one of our D-line coaches, so he's ripping, getting through, coming flat, right? Don't let them. What they'll do sometimes is they'll cross his back and take a step or two upfield, and then come across. Just like a defensive end, when you're around that corner, you beat that tackle, you get that tackle's heels, which is this would be the tackle's heels. We got to, from what I know of D-line, we got to try to come flat and crush that pocket. We don't want to climb and give the ability for that quarterback to step up. So same premise as a guy on punt return. Come off that flat as best you can. Extension, good job. Here's another iteration of the same deal. We're flat through with a great rip. And this is one thing we want to stay away from. We don't want to have our hands out. So right here, our hands are out for far too long. Our hands come out late and fast and across that block point, which most of our guys are doing. And we almost never, if we could avoid it, we don't want to block a ball directly over our chest. Like, this isn't an ideal position, because even if you do miss, if you're planning making contact with your chest over his leg, you are going to rough the punt. You're going to run through his leg. That's exactly the time. But if you're there early and you miss, you have the ability to still avoid, because if you're early, all it's going to be over his leg are his hands, and your hands should be at the block point, not at his foot. So we come right over this guy's leg, and if we don't get there, we're going to rough it. So it's important that we teach him to be outstretched and not have, when they contact the ball, not to have our chest directly over. Same deal here. Like, you'll never be able to block a ball backwards. Like, you're not going to scoop the ball and knock it that way. Ideally you're pushing that ball down away into the ground. So it's just a small coaching point they start doing that. And they will start doing it because it's easy. They get so caught up in the eyes. Some more. Same deal. We don't have to worry about that one too much. Oh, yeah, I'll zip through these so you guys don't kill you guys. Another thing a lot of guys will do is they try to slap it down. That's not how you block a punt. It's incredibly inaccurate. There's a chance, but we come off that line, hands out in front, you shoot them directly down to that block point. You can't raise your hands up and slap them down. I don't know a ton about volleyball, but I know when you're trying to block a spike, you go straight up and down, you pick your line. You don't try to adjust your hands on the fly, right? It's incredibly inaccurate. So come right down and down away. Just another variable, two guys sort of making the tackle miss, making a tackle miss, and we got an up back late. Same deal, rip through, hands away. That's not bad. So it's just a graph I show some of the guys. You guys see the graph. So it's just a graph for the guys. This isn't perfect, but it gives them an idea of how things kind of shake out. So if you're early, it means you get. So obviously these guys are further past line of scrimmage than these cats. If you're early and outside, so you're outside of the puncher's leg, we can come across his leg. And early means that you're like 99%, 98% sure you're going to block that punt. So we can come across his leg. There's no fear, because the only way you don't block this punt is if you actually physically miss it. Your timing is right. If we're late and outside, we have to avoid his kicks. It doesn't matter whether it's kickside. We have to avoid outside and have our hands coming across. I'll show you guys a clip of that in a couple seconds. Early and inside, we can essentially run through the puncher. We don't want to hurt him, obviously, but there's no need to avoid. We're early, we're inside. This is the best situation possible. We go right through that block point. If we miss it, we'll take the penalty, unfortunately, but we can't. There's no risk, no reward. So if we're early and inside, give it everything you got, drive right through this guy's punt, the block point, make a play. Now, if you're late and inside, same difference. We got to come outside, hands off to the side. We're working past him, so we don't have a chance. We have a lower chance of blocking the punt, but a much lower chance of roughing the kicker. So there's volume for this for some reason. So just an example. We're just drilling that same deal. We're just drilling. He's come inside. So we've beat up back with inside leverage. And we're coming through. Sorry, I'll slow it down. Same thing, eyes, and we're just reaching out. So at this point in time, so right here, if his leg is coming through that ball, no part of our body except for our hands, and this is, like I said, this is the block point. So we're out in front. We're in a much better situation, whether than if we come across his body and had a chance to rough him on that play. Same deal, and that's even better. That's really good. He's super long, so it's easy for him. Sorry, right there. That's all it is. We're flashing in front, hands. He's got pretty good eyes to that football. We got about a yard and a half, he's got long arms, like I said. we got about a yard of difference where we can get to that block point, not worry about roughing that kicker. And then we'll show another one where he's decided he's early. Sometimes I give him the freedom to do either or. He's decided that he's early and inside, so he's gonna go ahead and work across, which is fine. If we're early, if we beat the guy clean and we don't get blocked by an nutback, we're clean to the ball, we can go across it because we have a much better chance of blocking that punt. So I'll show you guys some clips real quick, and then this will be the last deal. I'll show you guys the tight. It's much better for this. Same deal inside. So this is a good example. He's early in his. I can't speak for him. I know I spoke to him, but he knows it's early because they didn't block him at the line of scrimmage. They do get hands on late, but he's made a decision. I'm early enough, so he's reaching up and through that block point. This doesn't end up being a block; ends up being a tipped kick, so it's still technically returnable, and they have to give 5 yards. One thing that's incredibly important, and I think this is one thing that I give credit to my punt return team, is they still consider the return. They didn't. You see sometimes they hear that sound and everyone will kind of panic and look for the ball and not do their jobs. But my guys stayed on task. They were still locked in, and we ended up making a huge play for us. So we ended up getting this. Our guy Caleb Beaver, who led the nation of punt return yardage on the year, guys, all of our guys were still in blocking. We ended up taking this one to the crib. And that's just guys not giving up, understanding what's going on. That flag got picked up because they realized that the ball had been tipped. But it's just a matter of kind of executing your responsibility, knowing that if you're not part of the block and you're part of the return, to get where you got to be. I'll show you another clip right here. I'll show you the tight, sorry. Same deal. This actually should have been better than it was. The block is, and the pressure is going to come from these two cats, 4-2 and 2-8. 2-8 you actually saw in one of the drills who did a really good job of getting extension. He should have been much tighter to the box. I don't know why he was that far outside. I was trying to trick him or something, but he should have been much tighter to that box at the snap. Because his guy adds in regardless. Come off, they step down. They're doing protecting inside out, which is normal, obviously. Same deal, early and inside. He knows he's got a great shot. He hasn't been blocked. He's going right across that puncher's leg. He's not worried. He's not trying to drift off to the side. If I rough him, at least I'm going to get that ball. And we have a secondary player who actually ends up being the player to make that block, is 2-8. And one thing, again, like that's the things you have to rep these guys a ton and develop this unconscious competence, is that once they get in this mode, they just automatically know what to do. His hands are much harder than I would have liked them to have been, but he still has eyes to the ball. He still ends up bringing his hands down at the last second. He gets a piece of that. Only thing is we'd like to get a scoop and a score, but he would have been tackled regardless. Same deal. I'll show you, I got 3 more clips of this kind of stuff. I'll show you this from the tight. This is a good example. This is just a good example of kind of development. I'll show you this clip. So this one, we get a good tip on this one. This guy, Carter Matheson, could have gone pro, but decided to become a pharmacist. He's actually a Waterloo doing his master's, PhD in pharmacology or pharmacy or something like that. Genius. Great job. Hard outside rush. Does use a great job with his hands, but he still gets a bit of a chop. And he sells out. He trusts it. And that's one thing that the drills gives your guys. It gives the guys trust in their ability to make a play. If you don't drill these things, they don't know that they can do it, and they never will do it. They probably won't do it, is what I should say. So give them that ability. He comes across. He trusts his coaching, his training. Leaves his feet. I wish he would have left his feet a bit more, but he does sell out. We get a tip. Gets still to give yards, but still, it's a big play, right? It saves us a bunch of yardage. And then this is just a play kind of his development. So this was 2 years earlier, a year earlier. Same cat, different situation, but very similar, very good athlete. So he comes clean through, but he doesn't trust himself. He doesn't know he doesn't trust his ability. He's not laying out. So he comes through and he breaks through and he's kind of scared. He's not sure where he's going. His eyes are nowhere near where they need to be at the block point. He's looking, the ball is here. His eyes should be tucked in here, block point. And the ball ends up being kicked. If we're going to miss this block, the ball should be kicked out here and for a short kick. If the kicker sees us, he should be able to kick it back inside because we have inside pressure on that. He gets outside, we whiff. But he learned, and that's the thing, is you got to teach them, you got to show them on film, trust that you have to give them the ability to know that they can get out there and do these things. There's no repercussions. If I call a block and we get early with the kicker, unless it's egregious, that's on me. I have to tell the head coach, that's on me. Coach, I called it, but I thought we could get there. But like I said, if he's going to kick it, we got to make sure the ball goes all the way out. We should have left our feet and tried to make a play on that. Show one more. Another great job. So here, early and inside, no one. They touch him, but not really. He's strong at the point. We're reaching out, last ditch effort, hand to that ball, and that's just great eye control, right? His eyes are where the ball is the whole way through. He sees it. He knows you can't see because of the goalpost, but he knows exactly where he needs to go with that hand, and that's like his best, as good as it gets. The only thing I would have liked if maybe he didn't scoop it and would have let someone else grab it. That would have been the only other thing, or pushed it forward. I'm not sure. There's some legality issues to that, but still, we don't want to hop on if we can avoid it. I'll just do one more drill real quick. I won't spend too much time. Just a leaving the feet drill. If you have any kind of crash mats, I've done it with a blanket or a tarp and a bunch of step overs. Just throw a blanket down. And all this does, it gives them the confidence to leave their feet. That's all it is. You run this drill once. I run this drill like once a year, maybe once in spring, once in training camp, just to give them confidence that they won't get hurt, that they can leave their feet, get them used to their timing. That's all it really is. It's just a drill to kind of build that confidence, to have the ability to kind of do this thing. That's Douglas laying out. And I'll kind of show you too in practice. One of our kids, Kevin Vicom, actually played in the OPFL with Cumberland Panthers, won a championship. So same deal. He wasn't in that clip, but he's run this drill once in training. He was a freshman that year. Same thing. All it is he knows I've gotten off. He knows he's gotten a really good get off, and he's done the drill. He knows what it feels like to lay out. He knows that there aren't any serious repercussions to his body. Lays out and makes a phenomenal play. Absolutely phenomenal play. We do a good job of scooping. Like I said, don't panic. Ball has not crossed the line of scrimmage. They cannot recover. They can recover, but they're not going to gain possession. Still our ball. Understand that when we're doing these kinds of things, super tight to the line. And like I said, like he's done the drill, right? Like this is, I watched this, I feel like I couldn't believe how far he'd taken off from. Like this is really impressive for me. Takes off, lays out, absolutely lays out, gives everything out. And the whole time through is one thing that's real impressive is you see his eyes. He's not drifting. His head isn't pointed directly there. His eyes are on his target. He may come off slightly, but his eyes are still where they got to be. I think hits him on his chest. Like I said, that's a big thing. Slow your feet with number one. Don't worry about it. Scoop it. Like I said, ideally we would have scored in this way. We still got more positive yards out of it. Still got positive yards out of it. And I'll show this last one. Like I said, this is one of our best guys in terms of blocking kicks. Like I showed you earlier, Cody Cranston comes off. This is actually to win the game. This is to win the game. They're trying to win the game with this kick. Comes off tight, flat. Like I said, he's done this drill. Leaves his feet. Like I said, same deal. We're looking at that head position, right here. He knows he's beat this guy clean. They stepped inside. Eyes are locked in that ball. We know where our aiming point is. We leave. We trust it. And he's left before the ball's even been kicked. And we get it clean. Clean. Balls up. We tip it backwards, actually super heads up play. They tackle it, and that was a game winner for us. I think we ran out the clock or went victory or something like that. Yeah, that's all I got for you guys. I stop sharing. Go to meeting. Yeah, am I off? Yeah, I stopped sharing. Yeah, we're good. Yeah, that's all I got for you guys. It's kind of all I could put together. But
Any questions, guys? Well, Coach, lots of great information. I liked all the different drills. I like the emphasis you put on each key point to what to focus on each drill. I know, I know we don't get to spend a ton of time on special teams because we only practice a couple days a week, right? With being in the OPFL, and I mean, we still spend time, but obviously not as much as you guys do in university. And with it being 1/3 of the Canadian game, it's great to get some of these type of pointers and things like that.
Absolutely, I'm glad to help. Hopefully, help a couple guys. If you guys want to reach out to me, like I'm sure, will my contact information be on YouTube for you guys, or?
Is it? You showed it on your PowerPoint, did you not, Coach?
Oh, did I? I can send it to whoever wants it. Like you guys can find me on whatever.
Yeah, Nathan.
Yep.
If I can, I'd like to get your contact information if possible.
Yeah. Reach out to me on. Well, you guys can get me on Facebook, Nathan Taylor. I'm there all the time on Instagram, Coach Taylor 31, on Twitter, Nate Taylor 31. So however you guys see fit.
Now, the stuff that you showed on here, will it be available for printing purposes or downloading so we can use it for future reference?
If you want, my email is nathan.taylor@uottawa.ca. I can flip you a bunch of this stuff. I'll either draw.
Yeah, that would be great if you could, please.
Yeah, I can flip you that stuff. It's easy.
All right. Well, again, on behalf of the OPFL, Coach, I want to thank you, first of all, for a tremendous presentation. I want to wish you and the Ottawa GGs all the best this year. It's going to be great to just to see youth sports play again. I know we're excited, and we've had a lot of great coaches, and it's going to be great to watch all you guys compete.
Yeah, absolutely. We're pumped for the schedule for everything to get going. It's just to play ball. Like, we're all in the same boat, right? We just want to see some ball. I'll go watch an Adam game right now. I don't care. I just want to see some football.
That's it. We're excited too about possibly getting back on the field in some type of fashion. I mean, again, hopefully everybody gets back at it. But again, thank you very much, Coach, and I'm sure we'll cross paths at some point again. Much appreciated.
Yes, sir. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks again, Nathan. It's I got a lot out of it.
Great, thank
So
you.
it helps.
Good.
But yeah, if we can stay in touch, it'd be great.
Absolutely, yeah. Just shoot me an email or Facebook and whatever you want. I'm good. Any which way,
All
I'm
right.
good.
Again, guys, anything coaching wise, we all do have it up on our OPFL YouTube channel. It's all up there. There's lots of great presentations from fantastic coaches and great minds. Again, all willing to kind of help anybody else. So if anybody needs that info, it's all up there, and reach out and use it up.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you, Coach.
All right,
Take it
thanks.
easy.